Disney is going to try and recoup their losses on Solo this September. The new Star Wars spin-off, which bombed at the box office earlier this summer, will be available to buy digitally starting September 14th, with the Blu-ray hitting stores 2 weeks later. It will include the usual assortment of behind-the-scenes features, although don't be surprised if they gloss over the infamous director swap and reshoots. There will also be deleted scenes so you can see what wasn't even good enough to make the final cut. Solo was the first major box office failure in the Star Wars franchise and did particularly bad in overseas territories, prompting discussions about the future of the entire Star Wars franchise and rumors about major management shakeups at Lucasfilm. Hopefully they can get a better handle on things before Episode 9 arrives in December 2019. I feel bad for Solo. It wasn't a terrible movie at all. It was actually kind of fun, and everybody did a pretty good job with the movie. It did feel a little inconsequential. It did feel like it was trying to set up something other than just its own, singular film, which is kind of problematic because we're dealing with a prequel. But I actually enjoyed myself with the movie, and I feel like it came out at the wrong time. It came out amidst a lot of backlash for The Last Jedi, and I don't think it deserved all kinds of hate. It is definitely emblematic of issues that are happening with Lucasfilm and with Disney around Star Wars, but I am actually excited to watch this movie again, and I'll review the Blu-ray when it comes out so I can, sort of take it all in and give you some, after-the-fact kind of perspective on Solo. I'm very curious to see how this thing does in home video. I think if it does all right, the tides might be turning slowly for Star Wars. I'm ready to love Star Wars again. Are you? All right, and if Nazis aren't evil enough already, a new movie is turning them into zombies. Again. The first trailer for the new World War II horror movie Overlord has landed. Produced by J.J. Abrams, the film focuses on a team of U.S. paratroopers dropped into France during Operation Overlord, also known as the Battle of Normandy or D-Day. But unlike real life, it turns out that many of the Nazis have been turned into flesh-eating undead zombies. This isn't a new idea. Nazi zombies have appeared in game franchises like Call of Duty, along with several recent films, and there was even an entire subgenre of Nazi zombie exploitation movies in the 70s. Overlord is easily the biggest and most expensive Nazi zombies undertaking yet. It will invade theaters this November. This looks like crazy fun. I can't wait to check this movie out. Yes, I'm done with zombies. I've got zombies, it feels like, in every corner of my life, but, with the production values like this, I think this is going to be a very fun movie. It's kind of, I think, riffing on Inglourious Basterds and taking it into kind of the supernatural a little bit, but it looks like it's going to be a fun flick. I can't wait for this. After almost 14 years, World of Warcraft is changing its subscription model. Blizzard has changed the way players can access the game and its expansions. Starting today, the $15 a month subscription fee will grant access to the entire main game as well as all existing expansions, which means you won't have to buy the base game or any of the expansions in order to play. The way it was before, you had to first buy the game and then fork over the subscription fee, so this makes it a lot less expensive to start playing. Blizzard is doing this as a way to get more players ahead of the launch of the latest expansion, Battle for Azeroth, which launches next month. That expansion will not be included in the new model, so if you want it, you'll still have to buy it separately. It's unbelievable how long World of Warcraft has lasted and how many players still play this stuff. It's incredible. I ask this all the time on Twitter. Are you still playing World of Warcraft? And so many people are, and this is a brilliant move. I got the press release about all the stuff that they're planning for San Diego Comic-Con, so Blizzard is still coming with all kinds of new ideas and new ways to engage players with something like this, which is just mind-blowing. Big reason why so many other MMOs have just not been able to compete and challenge this behemoth. Blizzard has known what it's been doing with World of Warcraft all the way along. Sure, it's taken some dips, and sure, it's maybe not the most popular thing in the world right now. Hello, Fortnite. But this is still a really, really big move, and I think a lot of people are probably going to find their way back because it's going to be a lot less expensive to play. So good on you, Blizzard. Here's some bittersweet news that might leave gamers feeling a little hollow. The stylish Metroidvania side-scroller Hollow Knight is about to get its final batch of DLC. It's called Gods and Glory and is billed as the biggest expansion yet for the game, giving players an all-new quest featuring a new character, the Godseeker. There will also be new enemies, boss fights, music, and a new game mode that's unlocked once you finish the new quest. Like the previous expansions, Lifeblood, the Grim Troop, and Hidden Dreams, Gods and Glory will be free for all players who already own the main game. It hits both the PC and Nintendo Switch on August 9th. I've been playing Hollow Knight. It's an incredibly challenging game, And because it kind of reminds me of like a Metroidvania fused with a little bit of Dark Souls, which I know Dark Souls is kind of put into every conversation around video games these days. But it just is very challenging. It's a roguelike as well, so you lose one life and once you're out of all of your life force and you're dead, then you've got to find your way back to all of your stuff and try to kind of level up constantly. And the bosses are challenging, but it's so good. It's so atmospheric and it's beautiful, and there's lots of cool surprises all over the place. I haven't gotten far enough that I can give you guys a thorough review, and it looks like there's a ton of DLC after all of this stuff. It's massive and it's beautiful, and it's a super cool experience. I've been playing it on the Switch, and I still have more to play, and Octopath Traveler took all of my attention recently, so I kind of shifted off of Hollow Knight, but I am really impressed with this game so far. I wish it was a little bit easier, though. I wish it wasn't quite as difficult to take on some of the bosses in the game. Really cool stuff. Google has gotten into some big trouble with their Android platform. The European Union has just slapped Google with a fine of 4.3 billion euros, which works out to about $5 billion US, the biggest fine in the EU's history. EU regulators found that Google violated antitrust laws by unfairly promoting their own apps like Chrome on the Android platform to the detriment of other apps from competing companies. This comes just a year after Google was given a $2.7 billion fine by the EU over their online shopping service, which also promoted Google products over the products of their competitors. Google lawyers have vowed to appeal the ruling. This is huge news. Not just because of the dollar figure, but because governments of the world right now are getting increasingly frustrated with these massive corporations that kind of own almost huge swaths of the online space for us. There's so much information that's collected by companies like Google and Facebook and Microsoft and others out there, and the governments of the world are starting to get a lot more savvy about how people are being constrained and forced into specific information kind of channels. I think we're going to see a lot more regulation, a lot more risk being slapped, so it's not just one online monopoly after another. And maybe the solution is that there needs to exist more OS options out there. It's really come down to just iOS and Android. All the other players that have tried to kind of enter this space have not been able to survive and gain consumer interest. But I think we're going to start to see a lot more diversification, and we're going to start to see Google and Apple and a lot of these massive corporations play nicer with the little guys and not try to squeeze them out all over the place. I think, these are all the marbles because we're all online for half of our life at least, and so I think governments in the world, as scary as it is to see the government sort of try to come in and steamroll over all of this free market kind of enterprise out there, it does become a scary thing if everything is kind of forced down one pipeline all the time like this. Interesting days. All right, that does it for our rundown today, but let's go on to this day in Everything Cool.